You know, have you ever just stopped and looked at a mountain or a river or even the coastline and thought, how in the world did that get here? Well, the landforms all around us, they aren't just pretty scenery. Nope, they're basically the pages of our planet's epic story. A story written over millions and millions of years by some truly incredible forces.
Here's a question for you. It seems so simple, right? But the thing is, the answer is, well, it's a lot more complicated than you'd think. The ground we stand on isn't static at all. It is constantly being created and destroyed. It's this endless, dynamic dance of immense power. All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start really small with the surprising building blocks of land itself. Then, we'll get into the colossal forces that build up the giants, like mountains. After that, we'll see how a simple river can sculpt the entire landscape, explore the dramatic dance between the land and the sea, and finally, we'll zoom out to really appreciate just how dynamic our planet is.
To understand the biggest, grandest structures on Earth, we've got to start small. I mean, really small, with the very stuff they're made of. And you might be surprised to find out that life itself is one of the master architects.
That's right. Some of the very rock that makes up our continents actually started out as living things. I know, it's wild. But over incredible spans of time, the remains of plants and animals get transformed into solid ground.
And this whole process happens in two main ways. On one hand, you have calcareous rocks. These are built from the countless tiny shells of marine creatures which, over time, form things like limestone. And on the other hand, you've got carbonaceous rocks. These are formed when massive ancient forests get buried and compressed for eons, turning into peat and even coal.
Okay, so we've covered the building blocks. Now let's talk about the builders. We're going deep inside the Earth to look at the titanic forces that create the most massive landforms on our entire planet.
So this is the most common way mountains get made. Just imagine two gigantic tectonic plates crashing into each other in super slow motion. The crust has nowhere else to go but up, so it buckles and it folds into these enormous mountain ranges. This is exactly how giants like the Himalayas and the Alps came to be.
And get this isn't some ancient history lesson. The Himalayas are actually the youngest major mountain range on the planet, which means these powerful geological forces are still at it right now. Those mountains are still growing.
But folding isn't the only way to build a mountain. Sometimes the Earth's crust cracks under all that stress. And as you can see in this diagram, huge blocks of rock can get pushed up, which we call a horst, or they can drop down, creating a graben. This is how whole ranges like the Sierra Nevada were formed.
So let's just break that down real quick. Fold mountains are all about compression. It's like a cosmic squeeze. Block mountains, on the other hand, are about tension, the cross being pulled apart until it cracks and shifts. Two totally different forces leading to two very different kinds of mountains.
And of course, we can't forget the plateaus. People often call them tablelands, and for a pretty good reason. They are these huge, elevated areas of flat land with really steep sides, just standing high above everything around them.
So we've seen how the internal forces of the Earth build things up. Now let's switch gears and look at the external forces that carve and redesign the landscape. And you know, one of the most powerful artists on the planet is just flowing water.
A river almost never flows in a perfectly straight line. As it moves across a flat plain, it starts to snake back and forth, creating these beautiful looping bends that we call meanders. It's kind of like the river's signature, a pattern it etches right into the land.
But these meanders don't stay the same. They can get so curvy, so extreme, that the little neck of land between two loops gets incredibly narrow. And eventually, the river just decides to take a shortcut. It breaks through, creating a new, straighter path for itself. The old loop gets left behind, sealed off by sediment, and becomes this beautiful, crescent-shaped thing called an oxbow lake.
So, the river's long journey finally ends where it meets the sea or a big lake. At this point, it slows way down and just drops all the sand and silt it's been carrying. Over time, this massive pile of sediment builds up, creating brand new land in the shape of a delta.
Okay, let's head to the coast now. That dynamic border where the raw energy of the ocean is constantly clashing with the land, creating a whole different set of unique landforms.
A lot of the time, this whole process starts with something pretty simple, a bar. It's really just a ridge of sand that waves and currents build up just offshore, running right alongside the coast.
Now, when that bar actually attaches to the land at one end and then stretches way out into the water, it becomes what we call a spit. It looks just like a sandy finger pointing out from the coast.
And this is where it gets really cool. When these bars and spits grow long enough to almost completely fence off a bay, they trap a whole body of water behind them. And this calm, protected area, well, that's what we call a lagoon.
I mean, just look at this picture. It shows the final result perfectly. You can really see how that outer strip of land creates this sheltered little paradise, totally separated from the rougher waters of the open sea. Just beautiful.
And these aren't just abstract concepts in a textbook. They are real, spectacular features you can find all over the globe. India, for example, has several famous ones like Pulakit Lake and Vembanad Lake. But the most famous has to be Chilka Lake, which actually holds the title for the largest lagoon in all of Asia.
So, when you put it all together, from the tiniest grains of sand to the absolute biggest mountain ranges, one thing is crystal clear. Our planet is not some static, unchanging rock. It is a living, breathing, and constantly shifting world.
And just to help you wrap your head around the sheer scale of all this, let's do a little lightning round of incredible facts. The single largest landform on Earth, it's not even on land. It's the underwater mid-Atlantic ridge. The Pamir Knot in Central Asia is nicknamed the roof of the world because so many huge mountain ranges just radiate out from it. And the Ural and Caucasus Mountains, they form the massive boundary between Europe and Asia. So if there's one thing I want you to take away from all this, it's this. The landscape you see outside your window today is just one single snapshot in time. Every force we've talked about, compression, tension, erosion, all of it, they are all at work right now, constantly rewriting the story of our planet. So the next time you look at a mountain or a river, just remember, you're not just seeing a place. You're watching a process unfold.